Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have a presentation that's going to be made by the Canadian Volunteer Fire Service, and Mark Pam from Berwick, is it? Kentville Fire Department going to present the awards for tonight.
It's truly an honor to stand here before you today on behalf of the Canadian Volunteer Fire Services Association to present one of the most prestigious recognitions of our organization, the Lifetime Achievement Award. This year, we are proud to celebrate an exceptional individual whose dedication, service, and leadership have left an indelible mark on the volunteer fire service community. Please join me in congratulating the 2024 recipient, Reed Wynot of the Bridgewater Fire Department. Reed's career in the fire service is nothing short of extraordinary. With 50 years of service, his unwavering commitment to protecting his community and mentoring the next generation of firefighters embodies the very spirit of volunteerism. Reed has not only responded to countless emergencies, but has also been instrumental in shaping the culture of safety, camaraderie, and excellence within the Bridgewater Fire Department. Throughout his tenure, Reed has demonstrated a passion for sharing his knowledge and expertise. From training new recruits to enhancing operational protocols, he's ensured that the legacy of the Bridgewater Fire Department is one of resilience and readiness. His mentorship has inspired many to follow in his footsteps, fostering a stronger, more connected fire service community. Reed's contributions extend beyond his department. His leadership and advocacy for volunteer fire service have made a lasting impact on our collective mission to safeguard communities across Canada. He exemplifies what it means to serve selflessly, and his dedication reminds us all why we choose this path. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to Makita for their support of this award. As a valued partner, Makita's commitment to recognizing the outstanding contributions of individuals like Reed is a testament to their belief in the power of community and volunteerism. Their sponsorship ensures that we can continue to honor those who have given so much to protect and serve. All the tools on the table are a donation from Makita to the recipient's department. Reed, as you accept this Lifetime Achievement Award, know that your impact reaches far beyond the walls of your fire hall. Your leadership, dedication, and compassion have touched countless lives, and your legacy will inspire future generations of volunteer firefighters. This is the first year that we'll be giving a large coin for Reed to keep, and it's got his name engraved on it with the year, as well as now this is one of only 15 coins like this, a keeper coin or pocket coin that he can have as well. On behalf of the Canadian Volunteer Fire Services Association, the Bridgewater Fire Department, and the many communities you have served, thank you for extraordinary service. Congratulations, Reed, on this well-deserved recognition. Please join me in a round of applause as we celebrate the remarkable achievements of Reed Wynot.
welcome to our official stamp cancellation for the town of Bridgewater. And, glad to see everybody's here.
I just like, well, first of all, thank you everyone for coming out to this on our birthday, 125 years. It's something quite special for the town. And I wanna thank the South Shore Stamp Club for this the stamp cancellation. Right, is that the pictorial stamp cancellation?
Yes.
I have in my pocket the last one that I keep in my office at Town Hall from 2017, where we had the one for Bijanuiska Park, which also has the nice stamp on it for the park. So I have a couple of these that are on display, so whenever I'm meeting with developers or business people interested in coming to our town to start a new business, this is one of the things they see. And so to mark our 125th birthday with another, I find these, obviously they're unique, but they're also very special. I think it's very fitting. So thank you all for putting this together and for being here today.
Anyways, thank you everybody for coming for our Bridgewater 125. And the Philatelic Society has asked us to produce a cancellation commemorating this event, so which we have done, and it's turned out with very positive reviews. And Canada Post is really pleased to be involved with supporting Philatelic Society and Bridgewater. So of course, it's just been a great time. So the cancel is officially released as of right now, and please take part in some of the festivities. We have coffee, tea, donuts, anything you folks like. So thank you very much.
Thanks for all your effort.
Yeah.
Thanks, folks.
I'm Amanda Fancy. I'm the dealer owner of Gauss Home Hardware and Furniture. We've been at this location for about a year. We started in 1848, way back when. This is our 5th location, so we've never have left the town limits. So we're looking to build this location. We had lots of opportunity to potentially look at outside of the town limits, but it was really key for us to be and continue to be a growing business in Bridgewater. Bridgewater, Nova Scotia is unique. We have a beautiful countryside. Our town is 7,500 people, but then, our customer reach is about 45,000. So, we're talking about lots of small communities, hidden treasures. There's huge opportunity here, and I think that it's certainly worthwhile to make the visit, make the call, do some inquiring, because it certainly is somewhere where I think there would be some strong investment opportunities for sure.
My name is Joey Richard. I come from Quebec, Montreal. I've studied opera at the Montreal Conservatoire of Music, so this is where I've learned about Italian, the language, and the food. And my passion just became bigger and bigger for food.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'll call this regularly scheduled meeting of Bridgewater Town Council to order. And as always, the town of Bridgewater is located in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and it is our privilege to be here. The agenda's been circulated, a little bit of a light one tonight. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as circulated? Councillor Newell, seconded by Deputy Mayor McDonald. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Councillor Wynot is at a retirement event for, everyone knows Greg Lowe, like literally everyone, I think, all the way down to Yarmouth knows Greg Lowe and his very distinguished career in broadcasting in local media. And so we wish Greg all the best in this new chapter. And so Councillor Wynot's at that. We will go to announcements. The big announcement, of course, is that you don't want to parade around? No? Okay. The big announcement, of course, is that May 31st we have Discover Downtown. I don't know how far the camera zooms in, but there is a ton of participating businesses and performers. And so this is the 31st, starting from 10 a.m. So you can check that out on the Downtown Bridgewater Facebook page, the Town of Bridgewater Facebook page. I think most of council has shared that on their social media. So check that out. Lots of local organizations and businesses to support, and really, really pleased that at the number that signed up for this. That is quite something. So hats off to the organizers. I know our own Donna Hatt had a hand in that, so well done. That is amazing. So hopefully it's good weather. And of course it'll be good weather. But that's Federal Department's Environment Canada, not Environment Bridgewater. So,
Newtown Department.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do for us. The other announcement, I'll be quite quick, but I just returned from Clermont-Ferrand, France, which of course is where Michelin has its head office, but also where we are partners with Clermont-Ferrand, the city of Clermont-Ferrand, and the International Network of Michelin Cities, and so discussing some opportunities there. The corridor of incubators was a topic that came up. The other one that came up was, we've talked about Energize Bridgewater for energy poverty. Their issue over there is not so much energy poverty, but water. So Europe is becoming very dry. They're not getting the snow caps, they're not getting the rain that they thought. They're getting warmer summers, and so using our model, PACE financing, retrofits like that, other incentives that they can do to get people to use less water. It's because they have no low-flow toilets, no low-flow shower heads, things like that. So that was kind of like mind-blowing for me to take Energize Bridgewater and change its context to something like that. So that was a really interesting discussion, and something that's going to come up at the conference in October next year. And then had some meetings with Michelin. So I'll do a more formal presentation to council once I kind of settle back in from travel, because many of us are off to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference this week. And so we'll report on that, and I'll report on this trip. I believe the Premier right now, as we speak, is in Clermont-Ferrand, also speaking with Michelin. So look forward to speaking to him about what we discussed there. Any other announcements from council? No? I'm just like looking at my name tag here. You can see my name tag. I will be the mayor and deputy mayor at the same time. Okay. We have the minutes of the May 12th regular council meeting. Any errors or omissions with those? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve the minutes as circulated? Councillor Newell, seconded by Councillor Fragier. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. And we are right down to new business. Request for decision for the outdoor pool sponsorship and naming rights.
So you have a report that's included with the agenda, and that's to do with sponsorship and naming rights for the outdoor pool for the 2025 season. Policy 85 that council has approved sets out the limits for which council will approve, and that's anything over $5,000, including any naming rights sponsorship. So O'Regan's South Shore Subaru has provided naming rights for the pool since 2016. Last year they provided $11,000, and that gave them the naming rights for the pool, and they're proposing again this year to continue with that naming rights and with that sponsorship of $11,000. That will require council's approval. We also have some other sponsors who are been multi-year sponsors, including Michelin, and they have $9,000 that they're proposing for sponsorships, and that would be for the pool cool-down zone for the 2025 season, and that has a value of $5,000, as well as free swims on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So that has a value of $4,000 in total. And in addition to that, South Shore Center, Castle Atlantic, and Bridgewater and area Kinsman have been supporters since 2023 and continue. So we're looking for council's approval for the O'Regan South Shore Subaru, 11,000 naming rights, and also the Michelin Bridgewater's 9,000 sponsorship. And as indicated, that's for the cool down zone and the free swims on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. The approvals that are subject to myself as a CAO are those under 5,000 but greater than 1,500. And for council's information, those include sponsorships from South Shore Center for free weekend swims, Castle Atlantic for Thursday and Friday free swims, and Carry Insurance is for signage for all Monday free swims installed on site, social media, and we would refer to them as a sponsor as well for that. And then we have the Bridgewater and area Kinsman is 400 towards free swims as well. So in total, there's 30,000 in sponsorships, assuming council approves the O'Regan's and the Michelin sponsorship. And our target in the budget was $30,000. And that $30,000 covers the cost for public swims. So that would make them free again this year if council agreed to the same.
Any questions for the CAO on that? Councillor Newell?
So it covers the cost of public swims, or I guess the free swims, 30,000. How do we determine that amount compared to the overall operating cost?
So staff, so that's just the times a day that we would have the free swims or the public swims. So there's other times that the pool would be used for swimming lessons, rentals, barracudas, different things like that. So that all goes into the revenue pool. Mm-hmm. So that's based on previous counts of those who come into public swims and looking at what our revenue was from previous years with respects to public swims when we had a fee attached to that. So that's how it was determined that that would be sufficient to cover the cost of that. Council was provided with a report because during budget time there was a question asked about how that was determined again, and so some numbers were provided to council at that time to to substantiate that amount.
Good question. Other questions from council? Councilor Conklin?
Excuse me. So, yeah, so like during budget time, I did have a few residents reach out and inquire as to why we would be subsidizing free swims or public swims for non-residents of the town. So I guess what we're looking at here, it's corporate donations that are basically subsidizing these swims, not the taxpayer, right?
That's correct. So
Yeah.
the information that was provided with the report at budget time showed that initially sponsorships have always been around $24,000. And then we had Public Swim had a revenue of $4,000 and there was a large group rate of $1,500. So with the sponsorships, we're more than able to cover off, increasing that from 24 to 30,000, more than covered off the Public Swim revenue that we didn't get of 4,000. So it is the sponsorships that are paying for the public swims. It's not being subsidized by the tax rate. And that was specifically why the sponsorships were given in many cases, was to be recognized for the public swims on certain evenings.
And fair to say, those sponsors are corporations that also have clients that are outside the town. So-
Yeah.
But it's a good question. Yeah. Councilor Bashir?
Just follow up to your information, Tammy, where you mentioned about we have groups and so on. We have daycares that are users of the pools. So they fall in a separate category for fees. They aren't part of the public swim,
That's right.
correct?
Yeah.
So we still
Yep.
collect revenue on that source. Okay.
Yeah.
Councilor Newell?
I should say that very appreciative of all the businesses who did agree to sponsor events like this. Very important. Very much so appreciate that. I just wanted to clarify, am I correct in assuming that we determined the amount we wanted, or the amount we need from sponsorships from, I guess, the budget, right? We calculated how much would cover these free swims, and that's how we came up with these sponsorship rates, or is there a different way we determined that?
That was the objective, is getting the sponsorships that would offset the public swim revenue piece of it, like when we increased it. So we always had 24, I shouldn't say always had, but from previous years, there was 24,000 in sponsorship revenue that did not go to public swims. It went to offset part of the operation cost to operate the pool. And then that was increased by 6,000 with the goal of making public swims free and accessible to all. So that's, we knew that it was $4,000 in revenue to do that we needed. Yeah.
More or less a comment, because I know a lot goes into doing the pool budget when there's like operational and there's lifeguards and but just I know from the general public, the users of the pool have said, understand it's all to do with employment opportunities for the students, but it would be beneficial if they could stay open a little bit longer, or some weekends into that September. I know, I think it's towards the 25th that the pool closes, but we still get warmer weather. I don't know. Again, I understand it's all to do with staffing and the cost, but if there was extra operational funds there to maybe see that you could have a couple weekends at the end, or limited to days, I guess I'm just putting out there.
My understanding, the challenge with that is that most of the staff for the summer are returning to university.
Right. Yeah.
So we align the closure
Sure.
with when our staff depart. So being able to have lifeguards present, because that's what would be required.
And that's the challenge.
Yeah, that would be the challenge.
Okay.
And the LCLC are providing the lifeguarding services simply because it's difficult to get lifeguards. So if you have 3 separate entities, Modal, LCLC, and the town doing that, we can certainly pose the question to the LCLC to see if they're going to have the staff complement that would enable the LCLC pool to have the services as well as the outdoor pool. But in past, that's been the challenge,
Yeah.
even opening up earlier in June,
Right.
when we have some really hot weather.
Right.
We were not able to do because
Yeah, the
kids are,
staffing.
yeah,
Yeah.
still in
Okay.
school,
Yep,
yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions on this? Is someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Newell?
Oh, forgive me. Just lost my document. I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater approve the corporate sponsorships for the outdoor pool 2025 season as follows. One, the O'Regan South Shore Subaru in the amount of $11,000, which includes the naming rights for O'Regan South Shore Subaru of the Bridgewater outdoor pool. And two, Michelin Bridgewater in the amount of $9,000 for the poolside cool down zone and for free swims on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Conklin. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. And I know it was already said, but thank you again to the sponsors. And for that, that's very generous of them. And boy, it gets hot. So when it gets hot, it's nice to, not everyone can, I know it's easy to say, well, you know, it's not that much to go to the outdoor pool. Not everyone has that luxury. So it's great. Thank you to Michelin as well for the free swims. Lunenburg County Senior Safety Coordinator Monthly Report for April is in your document package. I just want to note that on Thursday, the 29th, down at the Riverport District Community Center, there is a Senior Safety Academy. It's a free event. It's from 1:30 to 3:30. So that's down at the, like I said, at the Riverport District Community Center, 79 Lower LaHave Road in Riverport, and it is free. We also have the building inspection report for April. So again, busy. Staff are busy. The town is busy. And just a reminder to the public that all our documents, all the information that we have is available on the town's website under the council tab. All the minutes from previous meetings, the agenda, and all the contents of the agenda package. We are down to 11.4, which is request for direction on an operations review and the options for that. So this came out of kind of our strategic planning session. So I'll turn that over to the CAO.
Yes, so one of council's strategic priorities that was set during your most recent strategic priority setting session was that of tax rate stabilization. So a goal over the term of council was to ensure that. And it was agreed by council that this would involve looking at revenue as well as looking for ways to minimize cost of service delivery, so our expenditure side of the ledger. So reducing or minimizing expenditure growth while enabling services to continue to meet a growing population will prove to be challenging. Part of that is just as population grows, services can grow, or the demand for that. And when you think about building permits as an example, or that type of thing, as housing construction increases, so does the service side of it for the town, where we bring out inspectors to do those services, issue permits, development permits, development agreements, all the things that come with growth. In addition to that, there's increased tax accounts, and so it kind of filters through the organization when we experience growth. So that in itself poses some challenges. In addition to that, there's aging infrastructure that requires investment. So when council's looked at our operating budgets and our capital budgets and projected out our capital commitments over the next 10 years, it was evident that some borrowing would be required in order to upgrade the infrastructure that's required in order for us to issue those permits and accommodate growth. So that's mainly wastewater, it's roads, and basically our linear infrastructure. So when we borrow, the costs come back into our operating budget as debt servicing costs, so principal and interest. So we did show council that over the next couple of years and continuing, our debt servicing cost will grow too. So you got those two pressures on your expenditures, and then we have on the revenue side assessment growth. And the question becomes is, will that keep up with the rate of your increased costs and expenditures? So one of the things that we did was, or council did, was say we need to look at how we can get at our expenditures either reduce the rate that it grows at as we accommodate new services, or find capacity to take on more, which would, of course, limit the amount it increases to support the increase in service levels. And to assist with that, it was suggested that an operations review could be identified as an action that could actually assist the town and council in obtaining that goal of tax rate stabilization. So what it would do, an operations review would do, is it would look at the operations, look at structure, processes, are we efficient, are we effective, and what it would try to identify are opportunities to increase effectiveness and capacity within the organization, with the goal of being able to increase capacity to increase service levels or increase services that we provide without that spike in expenditures accompanying that. And it was felt that this was something that could help position the town to better accommodate growth and maintain that rate. So in order to go down that road of looking at an operations review, because there's a couple ways it can go, I've prepared this report in an attempt to seek from council some direction about confirmation of what it is that we want to achieve with this, to make sure that we word that right for the consultants as we prepare an RFP, as well as the scope. So what's it going to look at? So in the report, I note that it's being assumed by staff that the purpose of the review is to evaluate our operations with the goal of identifying and implementing cost-saving opportunities that will either reduce expenditures or increase capacity, so that we can take on the increase in service delivery that's anticipated to come with growth. So that would look at our organizational efficiency, resource allocation, so what staff we have doing what, the organizational design, is it too layered, is it too flat, does that affect effectiveness, spans of control, which is more about the management piece of it, again, is it too layered, is it too flat, overtime cost, our vacancy management, how we recruit, that piece, look at our productivity through processes. How do we do things? Can technology make that more efficient and effective? Can our processes be changed to make us more efficient and effective? How we deliver services, does it make sense to provide it in-house? Should we be contracting that out? Shared service models, those types of things. And then look at revenue streams, all in an attempt to find ways to reduce cost, or at least minimize the increase of that cost as we strive to take on new services. So that's what's being assumed by staff when we talk about the purpose and objective of the review. Now the scope, there's a few approaches with the scope. So the scope is, what's it going to look at? You can approach it from a comprehensive review, and that would be organizational wide. Look at the entire organization, or you can go department by department, or a couple departments, but not the entire organization. So I note some of the advantages and disadvantages of those. So with the department review, you have the ability to be focused, really drill down and look at that department. It's manageable in terms of a workload because we're just dealing with one department, although that department that's going through the review might not consider it manageable. It does take some effort from staff to participate in and provide the information that's needed. The recommendations that come out would be specific to the department, and the cost would be manageable to have that review done. Some of the disadvantages are that just assumes that department works in a silo, and you might miss some of those organizational-wide issues that impact all organizations by just looking at that one, right? So it may be more systemic than it is departmental in terms of its impact. Again, there's methodologies. We all interact with each other, so how processes can involve multiple departments, not just one. So it might overlook some of those things. As you do department, it takes longer, and you might lose some of that momentum. So it could take a couple of years if we're doing department by department as opposed to one sweep. In terms of organization-wide, the advantages is that you get that big comprehensive look. It ensures that you don't miss any things as departments collide with each other and they do their work. It would identify opportunities for integration that we might not be doing because it's looking at the entire organization. But the disadvantages are that it is a lot of coordination up front. So it's a big job to do this. It'll take a lot of staff commitment as well as council commitment and stakeholder commitment to complete the work. So it can impact our capacity to do other things at the same time. Of course, it's going to cost a little more to do it comprehensively. And there is the risk that if you go too high, it gets too generalized because you're not drilling down into a department. So there's that risk too. So what's being suggested as an approach that council can consider, and again, it's council's review, you can decide the scope that you prefer, is more of a hybrid where you take that big look, look for red flags that would cause you to say, well, wait a second. When I say red flags, it may be from, say, benchmarking. So we're going to benchmark the cost of sidewalk plowing per kilometer in the town to that of another town and a couple of towns. And let's just say we're way off on that and we're high. That's a red flag that you might say, well, we need to really look at that and figure out why. And maybe there's an opportunity there, right? Or it could be the number of building permits we issue versus the number of staff we have doing that, right? So we may be off on that. So that's typically what they would do is benchmark, and then you'd see red flags that would say, we need to look in there. So that could be the comprehensive review with the drill down into those areas that get identified as a little offside from say, the norm. And then that deeper dive, depending on the red flags, may be able to be accomplished within the same year, same scope, or it may be, depending on the findings, could be something that takes a little longer to do. So we won't know that until that comprehensive review is done. But that would give you that look to identify at a higher level, are there any offsides, shall we say, that we need to really look at and get into to determine whether or not we can improve our capacity within a particular service delivery. It would also give you the ability to look at all of your services, at least from an inventory perspective, to say, here's everything we do. And then there may be surprises. Oh, I didn't know we did that. Why do we do that? Is there value? Right? So maybe stakeholder consultation with residents to determine whether or not that's really a service that's of value. It could be something we cut. So that type of larger review gives you that opportunity to take that bigger picture look at that as well. Not that you wouldn't get to that level or that look if you did it department by department. It just wouldn't be as complete a package if you went out to the public with it to say, here's what we do. It would just be specific to one department. So the methodology that a consultant would undertake, and I did provide some examples of operation reviews that have been done in other places. And some of them you may say, I don't know if I would have been too happy with that, and others were really in depth. But they did have some consistent approaches. So they did do that service inventory and service level expectation. So if we're doing, use snow removal as an example, and our service level is that we're out within 12 hours of the storm being complete, and it cost us $300,000 a year to do that. Are you happy with that service level? Do you want it? You maybe say, you know what, we can go 18. And what would that do to our cost? Would that lower it a bit? Or maybe we want our service level higher, but it gives you that chance to set that level expectation, and then we can see what adjustments have to be made there. There's staff and stakeholder consultation, so sometimes people doing the work have some great ideas, and so there's the ability to have that consultation with them, as well as stakeholders. So if you want to do that consultation with the public to see what services are important to them, you have that as well. Benchmarking would be done and compare you to other municipalities, so you can see where you're offside on some things, or maybe you're completely on track on things. The analysis of service delivery models and processes. So some council members will be familiar with this when we looked at the Joint Services Board. So regional service delivery model is one way to do it. Other service delivery models are contracting services out or doing them in-house. So it would explore models best suited to what process. And then identify the opportunities and develop key performance indicators, so targets for us, to make sure that they are doing what they said they would do. And then they would provide you with a roadmap or an implementation plan on how to get there. Change doesn't happen overnight, but there would be a roadmap that would give you an idea of how long the implementation would take to improve those. So that's the methodology that is common amongst them. The time frame for the work, just for the operations review, we would, assuming that we can get some direction, and of course this is subject to adjustments by the proponent, so that if this is assuming the a proponent has the capacity to take this work on, if we could get one that does that, the RFP would be issued in June. We would look for an award in August, and then we commence towards the end of August with completion the end of February. So that would be our targeted timeline. Of course, a consultant may come back and say it's not going to work, but that's based on having been involved with them in the past. That seems to be a timeline that hopefully will work. Council has $100,000 that has been budgeted for the completion of this work. I would note that that doesn't include the staff time, so that's consultant time to do that. In terms of workload, it will require support from the departments to do the work. The consultants can't come in and know our processes. They need to sit down with the people doing them and understand them. So there is a level of work that's required from staff to do the work. And once we get the proposal from a consultant, we'll have a better idea of what that impact would be as well. So we're looking for a little direction from council, again, on is the objective and purpose correct? Do we have that right? And then the scope. How would you like to approach the review?
Okay, thank you for that very detailed, it was a great explanation for council and the public. Thoughts on this? So let's kind of go with maybe the first point, which is the scope. Scope makes sense, and then we can discuss if we want to go department by department or comprehensive review. But is everyone happy with the scope of it? Yes, I'm seeing heads nod. So in terms of comprehensive review or department by department,
Or hybrid.
Or a hybrid, but I'd like to make sure we're all on the same page if we can. Councillor Caldwell.
I don't think I'd like department by department because, I mean, to me, the organization should be trying to work as a whole, so I'm not sure I want that. But so I'm wondering if the hybrid model might be best, because you may have to drill down deeper into some departments if there's issues that are identified, right? So that might be the best way to go, I think.
Okay. Thoughts around the table from others?
There are best practices that from other jurisdictions that have used either, and the success with those?
I've looked at operation reviews. There's some that would recommend department by department because you can get right down into it. And I would say that if and then others that done that comprehensive look, right, the bigger piece. I would suggest with the comprehensive look, it may identify areas where you need to drill down and get into that. You won't necessarily get that at that high level, but it'll say, you're offside on your snow plowing based on the number of kilometers of road you have and your level of service. Compared to other units, you're high. You need to look at that. And so it might pick those things out. And then the next thing for the town would be, for council would be to then say, okay, we need to look at that and drill down on that. It really depends on the budget they come back with. We may have the ability to still have some funds to say, okay, let's go in there and take a look at that. Or it may be something that we have to budget for the next year. But what it would give you, I think, is that bigger picture, and then you could prioritize where you're going to go. If you pick a department right now, you're going based on, I guess, feedback from the public it could be, or your instinct that this is the department that we really think we need to drill into, but you could be missing other opportunities because you're focused there.
Yeah, the comprehensive, the comprehensive review with the focus on the major.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're
Yeah.
talking about in terms of the
Yeah.
hybrid, right? Like,
Yeah.
To me, it does make sense to do that versus department by department, because they do work together, right?
Yeah.
It's why we kind of reorganized inside the building a little bit, is because they work together, so.
We want to be in sync with each other. And
Yeah. Yeah. Other thoughts on that? Is anyone, Councilor Newell?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a hybrid approach or something. I would be hesitant to agree to encourage us whatever avenue we took would want something that ideally doesn't take years to complete, right? Because I would worry that if they come back and say, it's going to take 2 years. I mean, I assume departments are going to change a lot in that time, whether it's staff or processes or whatever that may be. That then the data they're going to come back with won't be overly valuable. I know when I was looking at some of the reports that you kindly provided, some of the recommendations were certainly things that would probably frustrate me. Like one was like, you should go get a study on this. I'm like, okay, well, kind of wanted you to tell me what the recommendation was, not go do a study to find out what the recommendation was. So trying to find those specific recommendations that hopefully are reasonably achievable to implement in a reasonable time frame, rather than here's something that you can maybe go down a path and maybe figure that out someday. Because I just imagine things change over time, that it becomes impractical.
Yeah, I would say you probably wouldn't want something that took more than a year to 2 years to complete. I don't know if we change too much within a 2-year time frame, but anything longer than that, yeah, you're losing momentum, things are changing, yeah.
Yeah, I would think that, I like the timeline that was presented, hopefully with the goal of it coming back and
With some recommendations.
with some recommendations in February. We dive into budget. I know budget starts to get formed before that, but when council starts dealing with the budget, it's coming in February. Being able to have some of those alongside that budget, hopefully with some meat on the bones where we can actually implement some of those, that would be key. And I hope that when it goes out for tender, that timelines are kind of included. So if you have like 3 bidders and one of them is like, February's no problem, and 2 of them are like, I can do it by February 2027.
Yeah.
Then I would hope that part of the scoring methodology would include the time,
project plan.
without tipping it so far that someone's rushed and not doing a full thorough job. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Any other thoughts on that? So I think we're seeing lots of nods and in that comprehensive review with the focus on kind of the major departments, if you will, that hybrid approach. Any other comments that or direction we want to be giving staff, Councilor Newell?
I'm sure you're going to do this already, but I kind of wrote down myself when I was looking through here that when whatever process or methodology that gets implemented, that it's very important to communicate to staff that this isn't triggered by their performance, especially when you enter in a department. It's about finding those high-level opportunities to improve service delivery, cost efficiency, not you did a bad job. So I just wanted to stress how important it is that we communicate that, because no one wants to feel bad because our staff work incredibly hard.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point to make, is that with an operations review, certainly when we've had our all-staff meeting a couple weeks ago, I did relate to them that was one of our priorities for the year. But that it's really about building capacity and organizational effectiveness. It's not about looking for opportunities to reduce staff counts, right? Because we are growing, and we do need to position ourselves to provide increased services. So it's about doing that without too much increase in the expense side of it to do that, right? And it may result in changing how we do things. And change can be uncomfortable for many, and certainly the uncertainty that comes with change. And it's all relative. For some people can handle it, big change, and it doesn't bother them at all. Some people, just changing where you sit bothers you. So we will have to be mindful of our internal communication to our staff and ensure that they're kept up to date as we go through the process. So at least communicating progress and making sure that they feel comfortable with it and will participate in the process that way as well.
Perfect, yes, thank you, thanks. It's a very, very good point, Ming. Councilor Conklin?
Excuse me, just a comment on some of those other reviews that you had forwarded out, for example. In 2 or 3 of them anyway, there was an underlying theme where there was a challenge in getting projects completed because of existing collective agreements in place with the workforce. So it's not nice to see. I guess it's
Interesting.
a challenge regardless if whatever avenue that you try to go, because we hear from engineering, we're not able to get some projects done just because we're short on crews or what have you, and it's I guess a balancing act, and it's not just a straight up easy answer of hiring more people. That's for sure. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor?
I mean, I prefer the comprehensive review for all the reasons that we've discussed, but is there a risk that it ends up being so high level that we don't really learn much? That it just kind of reiterates things that we already know? Some of the consultants' reports that come back, I read through them and I'm like, 3 of those 10 points were kind of no-brainers, or, we knew that, or that's pretty obvious. Is there a risk of it being too high level and telling us to go do a study on it?
I'm hoping that's what the hybrid part takes care of, right, is the drill down in some of it.
I don't think it'll be able to drill down into everything into a really, really detailed level. I'm not too sure the budget supports that.
Right.
But what we would ask is that when there is, like in those major service delivery areas, if there are red flags that would cause us to want to drill down, that there is some capacity built within the project to provide us with some specific recommendations for improvements, right? And we'll make it clear that we're not interested in a study that tells us to do 10 other studies, but that we want to have a review that will lead to some concrete recommendations that we can implement to improve. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a few things that might be just too big to get at with the budget that we would then have to look at doing in another year. But it would give you at least the ability to prioritize what happens in the second year, because you've seen the organization overall to know where your biggest hits would be the following year.
And none of us want a report that's going to sit on a shelf because we can't action any of the items. So, yeah, for sure. Councilor Caldwell.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that, because that's my biggest fear as well. So this is a strategic priority, and we're planning for this year, but there could be, doing this could result in some priorities being put on the back burner a bit. Can you sort of expand on what we could be looking at as a result of this?
It'd be difficult without getting the scope back from the consultant to look at that. But if it, for instance, engineering and public works, who are pretty flat out, right, with construction projects, all of our wastewater projects, if it requires the support of some of that project team, it can impact timelines when things get completed, right? So we have some things that consultants are doing and they're managing those contracts. Those will probably continue on. But if they're involved in preparing reports to council and that type of thing, it might impact their ability to get some of those things done on the dates they have targeted. If there is anything that once we get the report back, that we say, there's just no way we're going to have the staff time to really drill down into that without putting this to the side, we'd come back to council and say, if we want to go there, we have to move that. But at this point, I think it would just move some timelines out. And I would say that the big finance is doing a time and attendance. They're kind of in that piece right now, right? So maybe by the time this gets awarded, that pressure will be off. But then they want to look at budgeting software. So which might be a recommendation of the study actually. But so there will be things I think that will just get pushed out delayed.
Any other thoughts on that? I think we've landed in a good spot. So you're looking for a motion to,
Yeah, to confirm the purpose and objective as noted in staff's report, and to direct the hybrid approach to the operations review.
okay, someone prepared to move that?
Yeah, sure.
Councillor Conklin, seconded by Councillor Caldwell. You got that? Awesome. Everyone's clear on that? Okay. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Lickety split through to our last item on the regular agenda, which is the discussion session notes from May 5th. So that was Energize Bridgewater discussion and the transportation master plan topic.
Was that the last
Yep.
discussion?
Yep.
Yeah.
So thank you to the Deputy Mayor for chairing that meeting and the last council meeting. Much appreciated. So I did have a question in terms of the transportation master plan. Will that be coming to
Yep.
council? Do we have a date for that?
Most of it, actually, sorry, with the transportation master plan, that was to highlight for council what's in the 10-year capital plan right now.
Okay.
So there wasn't anything to come out of that. The discussion session we had last week was the wastewater, and there will be a report
Right,
that
that
has
was
to
last
come to
week, yeah.
council.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that? And again, those discussion session notes are on the council tab on the website. So with that, as I said, we have an in-camera meeting following this under section 22(2)A, Municipal Government Act. I need new glasses, I guess. That's contract negotiations. And like I said, there's a few of us going to the FCM this week, and we'll have a report back to council after that. So with that, can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Newell, seconded by Councillor Frazier. We are adjourned.